Hello friends, and welcome back for another minimal mixed media video. Today I have a process to share with you that was requested, and that is using acrylic paint and foam stamps. Now there are several ways to use foam stamps, and they are sort of an older product that some people happen to have still and some people don't have. But perhaps if you have kids' art supplies in your house, you might have foam stamps and can pull off this similar look. So I pull out these really old foam stamps, which I have no idea what brand they are. I know Making Memories made foam stamps at one point. But generally I find that it's easier to use simpler shapes. So you'll see me here using a variety of acrylic paint colors. I like all sorts of brands of acrylic paint, so it doesn't really matter to me. There's also specific crafty acrylic paint on the market if you guys are interested in. But I start off with a bunch of colors that match my background paper. So I end up having 4 heart stamps in my stash, and what I end up doing is kind of just going through the colors to paint onto each of these. And what I found with foam stamps is you don't need a ton of paint. I feel like if I was a child, I would have smothered these things in paint and got a much blurrier image than what I pulled off here. So I think a light coat of paint works really, really well, but it does depend if your foam stamps are used or not, because the foam will absorb just a little bit of the color, so you might have to restamp as well. So next I'm going to go in with the yellow color, which was a perfect match to this background paper, and I just love how these colors came out. Now you might be wondering how I know where I'm going to stamp. It is no rhyme, no reason, but I do anticipate putting photos, which I do not have picked out at this point, on the right hand side of this paper. So don't be afraid to do mixed media backgrounds when you don't know your exact photo set. Sometimes those are the best options that I find. It just ends up working out a ton better. And to make my life easier with this stamping, I don't end up doing any paint mixing. However, you definitely can then use a paintbrush to add it to your foam stamp. So I ended up using that brighter blue and ended up covering it up with this lighter purple color because I thought it matched the background a bit more. And also when you're doing mixed media backgrounds, don't be afraid to go off the edge. Sometimes it just adds a more realistic look and looks like it's very intentional when the design can reach the edges, but it's a totally personal preference for what you guys like to see in your designs. But hopefully you guys can pull out some of your old foam stamps and have some fun with it. Here I do it on some patterned paper, but if that's too much or too hard to color match, you can do it on white cardstock, super simple, or a plain colored cardstock to make it a little bit easier to find photos to match. But here I have this empty space on the right hand side, and that's where I anticipated putting a photo. Now at this point I don't know what photo I want to scrapbook, and this is dangerous, I agree. I know a lot of people don't like to do things when they don't know a plan for it in case they can't ever use it, but I was confident that the next day during the Patreon scrap party I hosted, I could find a photo that would work with it. Now what you do want to make sure you do is kind of wipe off all of your foam stamps in between stampings, unless it's the same color. But it did just take a dry towel to simply wipe it off. And again, if you use excessive paint, you will get smeared images. And you'll see me touch up with a paintbrush here and there because of that result. So once I let that dry, which I let it sit overnight, I could then pull out some photos to go with it. I pull out these 2 older photos of when we first got Lily, our cat. And this is just her in the window of our Maryland apartment. And I am using my How to Kill a Kit with Style for the month of September. The Lucky Charm paper pad had some great color matches to this background paper from the DCWV watering can paper pad. So I really love how these elements got pulled together. And so you'll see me use some of the scraps here to make layers under my photo, but I definitely need something to sort of ground the photo at the bottom. And this particular page was actually part of a design challenge that I put up during my Patreon scrap party to use 3 pattern papers on the page. So I have my background, I have this yellow pattern that I'm going to trim down to use as a base so nothing feels like it's floating, and then I have several ones I put underneath my photos to add to that pattern paper lusciousness. So here I'm going to glue everything down to their mats. I really like multicolored paper like this, especially when you have a multicolored paper background. It just helps solidify the color scheme, and that's oftentimes where I think people get a little bit lost, is confirming their color scheme several times throughout their layout, and pattern paper can help you do that, which is super nice and an easy way to do so if you have a match. Otherwise you can always make your own pattern paper to solidify your color scheme. There's plenty of ways to do it. But here I'm auditioning a couple more scraps of paper to see if I want additional layers. And I do apologize for the glare on the photos. At this point, I didn't realize that, one, my light was even on, because I ended up scrapbooking really early. It was dark, then it got lighter throughout the day, and technically I didn't need it on. But I will eventually move the sort of layout so it's not as apparent on the photos, but rather moves the glare to the background. But I start working through my September How to Kill a Kit with Style kit to find elements to use. I pulled out some of the freckled fawn labels. I have some butterflies I plan on using off to the side. I have this adorable little tab that has a bunch of feathers on it. I don't know about you guys, but there are certain things I associate with cats, for example, like feathers, which don't make sense when you first think of cats because they don't have feathers themselves. But dang, do they love birds. So that's where feathers and cats association comes from in my mind. But you can use whatever you want and what interprets for your mood and feel for your layout to really help build out the color scheme, the theme, and the storyline. So here I'm pulling in some jelly bean soup stickers. These puffy stickers are so great. I love them because they have such a variety of sizes, and they have phrases and words and flowers and feathers and little icons, and so versatile. Next up, of course, is my Jen Hadfield sticker book. This is something I adore and I love to use on any page I can when I have it in a kit. So here I'm looking to audition some of these floral pieces. I pull in some labels, and now I'm pulling in some of these words because there were some great color matches, like this mustard yellow color, the sort of dusty rose pink color that I was able to pull in, and I'm super happy with how those turned out because I struggle to use those colors otherwise, so it's really nice that they sort of matched my kit and I was able to use them. And when it comes to stickerage, you guys know I love to layer, especially with my clear stickers, so I end up pulling out one of those clear frame stickers and adding it underneath this butterfly and word combo in the bottom right. And then I have a planner sticker square that says Love Grows here because she was needing her little bed, and this is going to be where they essentially grew up and grew to know me. So that ends up being my title because it just fit so well, and there wasn't too much room for another place for a title, or at least one that I could think of. There's obviously room in the bottom left, but journaling can go there. There's a lot of options. And as you see my hands dance, I am talking to my online crop at the time when I filmed this layout, so it's a little bit funny to see me point and move when it's not relative to the process, but relative to the conversation I was having while making this layout. So if you guys haven't already, be sure to check out my Patreon, which will be linked down below, and I'll have several playlists linked down below so you guys can catch more of minimal mixed media if you guys are interested, or my other playlists where I do tons of fun other scrapbooking videos. I'll also have additional resources for how you guys can get involved and help make the world a better place, and ways you can help by donating, researching, educating, and lots of great things you can do down there. But we've made this entire layout and haven't touched my washi tape at all. And you guys know me, I need to have some washi tape on all of my layouts. So I end up pulling out a really simple one that I don't use a ton, and it's just a simple white with slight, light gold style dots on it, and end up putting that at the bottom of my yellow strip that holds and grounds my layout. And I kind of like how it turned out. I think I could have used some more washi tape, but I think it's nice to have a little bit on every page because that's how you work through your stash. A little bit on every page. And if you pick a focus product like I do, like washi tape because I have a ton of it, you could pick 6x6 paper pads need to go on every page, you could pick cardstock stickers, you could pick chipboard depending on what's in your stash and what you want to use up. But I'm still working on my washi tape, and hopefully one day I'll have more empty rolls to share with you guys during my monthly favorites videos. Speaking of monthly favorites, if you haven't checked out my August monthly favorites that went up earlier this week, definitely check it out. It had a lot of fun stuff in it, and I always enjoyed making those videos, and hopefully you guys enjoy watching them. But here, as I glue things down, I use glue dots for my burlap butterflies. I use liquid adhesive for my additional stickers to make sure they stick. I really love how this layout turned out. I think it's really unique to try to use foam stamps for a background, for an element here and there, and don't feel like you just have to use them for background pieces. You can totally use your stamps on separate cardstock, trim them out, make them into ephemera pieces to use later on, because you don't need to always commit mixed media to a background. It could be small elements here and there on your page. But as we finish up, I wanted some final touches, so I pull out some wood veneer pieces, which I have severely neglected in my stash. I used to love them. I still love them. I just want to use them a bit more. So I pull out some butterflies and some flowers, and I love how they added a bit more dimension to this layout and a bit more of that natural feel like the burlap has. So I really liked working on those two together. And since I couldn't find any enamel dots to match this color scheme, which is really unique, I end up just going with some Nuvo drops, and these are my jewel drops in oyster gray, I believe. And I really like how these turned out. They're just a nice simple dewdrop shape without too much color, but just really finish off the clusters. But here are the close-ups. I hope you guys enjoyed. If you did, be sure to give it a thumbs up and subscribe. And don't forget to check out all of the products linked down below and additional resource links down below in case you guys are interested. But thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye, guys.